We're back. Welcome back. All right.
On chapter 4 of The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. And chapter 4 is about stopping male violence.
Mm-hmm.
Good chapter.
Yeah, interesting chapter. So yeah, basically the chapter opens up about violence in America, and Bell Hooks basically went back and basically kind of recapped, the inception of male violence as far as it relates to the African American community and how it has been propagandized throughout the media, and how boys, seeing that type of violence affected them growing up in a patriarchal society.
Just to add on to that, she talked about how male violence is not a natural thing. Like, a lot of people think and I used to think this, well, I kind of still think that male are inherently more violent than women.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. But
I would say men are inherently more physically
inclined to be violent.
I would say men more inherently have more testosterone than women.
Yeah.
But it doesn't translate into violence. I don't think if you have more testosterone, then that translates into violence. It just means that you have more testosterone. So you have to release that through working out, through maybe extreme physical activity. But I think it has to do with that, I would say. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. So.
Yeah. So basically she's saying that, she says, every day in America, men are violent. So that's a general statement, okay? And that's a very specific statement because she said every day in America, men are violent. Their violence is deemed, quote unquote, natural by the psychology of patriarchy, which insists that there is a biological connection between having a penis and the will to do violence. And then she goes on and talked about how there are other cultures in society full of men
that
are not violent.
Yeah.
And violence is a form of boyhood socialization. So boys have to go through a transition of socialization where they are, I guess, encounter violence as a means to get what they want. And through that, they are radicalized and they unleash that violence when they don't get what they want because it works, because they've already been socialized. So violence is a form of socialization. And I guess in that sense, I would say, okay. But I still feel like men are inherently more violent than women. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking in the patriarchal Kool-Aid.
When you say violence, what are you saying?
I don't just mean physical violence. I'm talking emotional violence. I'm talking psychological terrorism.
No, violence. I think women are much more psychologically violent because I feel like men are not as strategic as women when it comes to how to hurt. Men are very straightforward in terms of hurting you, right? But I feel like women, we kind of I don't want to say we, but women generally kind of do a lot of more manipulation. That includes violence, right?
I think we really need to define that word violence
because it's a very broad term.
Yeah, because
it encompasses a lot of things.
So many things that can be violent. It doesn't have to be necessarily physical.
Yeah.
Verbal abuse is violence to me.
Yeah.
That's violence.
Yeah.
You putting me down, saying I'm a piece of shit, I won't amount to anything. That's violence.
Yeah.
And that's
psychological terrorism, like you said.
That's literally what, according to Bell Hooks, boys have to go through with their moms. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Okay.
So then there she goes on and talked about how a lot of radical feminists kind of encourage this widespread media about how male are inherently violent. But then Bell Hooks basically said that, well, if that's the case, if women are the primary parent when it comes to raising their boys, even the boys still grow up to be violent. So if you're saying men are inherently violent, but men are not in the home, women are taking the male's place.
Yeah.
Women are still perpetuating that violence through emotional sadism. Yeah. Because there's no men in the household to bear the emotional weight that the woman has to bear. So now the woman is looking towards the son to provide that emotional thing that the dad would have provided the woman. So now the boy is growing up feeling like he has to point to the mom emotionally, right? And then out of nowhere, the mom kind of do like a 180. The mom kind of flips up and be like, well, you're growing up now. You need to be a man. You can't just be emotional all the time. So now the boy feels like, well, damn, in one space, I'm providing you emotional whatever. And then out of nowhere, you rip that under me. And now I have to be a man. That's where the seed is planted and boys starts to hate their moms. So she talked about how let me see if I can find it. She talked about the psychologist is going around and talking to young boys about the Incredible Hulk. And the Incredible Hulk seems to be doing great with this demographic. And the psychologist is basically interviewing the boys and say, okay, if you had the powers of the Hulk, what would you do? Now, let me just backtrack a little bit. The Incredible Hulk is basically about this guy who does not know how to manages his emotions. And if he is experiencing a lot of emotions, he turns into the Incredible Hulk. And that emotion is what? Anger. And when she said that, I didn't really...
Yeah, because I've watched the Incredible Hulk when I was young, but I never
thought it was kind of a propagandized way to basically target young boys and speak about patriarchy, but in a very subtle way. I never thought about it like that. And I thought that was very interesting. Anyway, so the boys said that they would smash their mommies. If they had the
superpower of the Incredible Hulk for one day, what would they want to do? The boys, I think across the board says that they would smash their mommies because it's fun. Ooh.
So even by that answer, you can already know that a lot of boys at a very young age still have a lot of anger towards their mom, because usually the women oppose the patriarchy even without knowing, simply by saying you have to be a man. You can't be lovey-dovey. That's wrong. I want you, she's preparing him for the world, and that is the patriarchal world.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Oh, I get it. Okay. Years ago, the television show The Incredible Hulk was the favorite of many boys. It's on 62.
Okay, thank you.
It featured a mild-mannered scientist who turned into an angry green monster whenever he felt intense emotion. A psychologist interviewing boys about their passions for the show asked them what they would do if they had the power of the Hulk. They replied that they would smash their mommies. In her groundbreaking work, The Mermaid and the Minotaur, feminist theorist Dorothy Dinerstein highlight the extent to which boys respond to the autocratic power of mothers with rage. Yeah, these boys are rageful. Like many feminist researchers today, she insisted that male engagement with parenting was indeed to break the projection onto the mothers as an all-powerful figure who must be rebelled against and in some cases destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's just
So I actually wanted to go back.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to go back on at the beginning of the chapter and basically kind of talk about, this feminist that Bell Hooks mentioned in the book, Audria Watkins. So she was doing like a survey, basically from the American Medical Association. So I'm just going to read this passage. The American Medical Association concluded that sexual. Okay, so let me just start from the beginning. Radical feminist Andrea Watkins has courageously and consistently dared to name the widespread scope of male violence against women. In Scapegoat, she writes, a recent United Nations report says that violence against women is the world's most pervasive form of human rights abuse. End quote. In the United States, the Justice Department says that 1 out of 12 women will be stalked at some point in her lifetime. End quote. The American Medical Association concluded that sexual assault and family violence are devastating the United States' physical and emotional well-being. In 1995, the AMA reported that more than 700,000 women in the United States are sexually assaulted each year, and or every 46 seconds. End quote. These facts address actual physical assaults and do not cover the widespread emotional abuse that has practically become an accepted norm in male-female relationships, whether between husbands, wives, fathers, daughters, brothers, sisters, girlfriend, or boyfriend.
That's a lot. So all those numbers is just like reported physical acts of violence, whether it be rape, assault, all that.
That does not include
the emotional, psychological, trauma, financial, spiritual, like it does not include the rest.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, those numbers, I feel like those numbers are very, very powerful.
And those numbers are also outdated because this is like, she wrote this book in like 2004. So I'm sure if we look at those numbers again, it's probably going to be up. Yeah, it's going to be up.
Very, very up. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so I really wanted to like highlight that and basically talk about how ingrained it already is, like violence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How violence is actually very, very accepted in our society, and how violence kind of like perpetuate throughout, right? Just because it's not physical violence doesn't mean that it's not like psychological violence, right? So there's a lot of things that is going on here, especially with the numbers, and her saying that violence against women is the world's most pervasive form of human rights abuse. That's very, very powerful.
Yeah. I think we need to look at it in that type of
lens. That is a human rights abuse.
Like you're literally violating my human rights as a person, as a person human. Yeah. Like you can't just do that and think you can get away with it. But like she goes on and mentions this other author called Terrence Real. Mm-hmm. And how in Terrence Real's book he talked about the conspiracy of silence, and how one of the main things that women tell other girls and other women to be silent about is physical abuse. Because once other women know the truth about how violent these males are, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
The jig is up.
Because they are actively violating your human rights.
Yeah.
So she goes on and says, and How Can I Get Through You? Terrence Real includes a chapter called A Conspiracy of Silence, in which he emphasizes that we are not allowed in this culture to speak. It's in the same chapter.
Okay.
We are not allowed in its culture to speak the truth about what relationships with men are really like. Like, relationships with men are all violence, all form of violence. Like, I would love to see somebody who is in a relationship with a man who has their own money, their own place, all of that, just separate from them. But you guys are still together.
And how would that dynamic look like?
How would that dynamic look like? Yeah, that's right. Like,
yeah, I think like as far as relationships or encountering, we need to redefine. I'm
for living in separate places. If you are in a heterosexual relationship,
I agree with that too.
Because anything could set him off.
Yeah. Because now it comes down to my survival and my safety.
But then again, if that's the case, why be with the man?
That's true.
don't be with them, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, I'm doing whatever I can to protect myself physically, financially, emotionally from you. I'm quite literally living a separate life, but we're still together. So let's just not be together.
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to reimagine what it's like being in a relationship, but also having separate lives, right?
But who wants to be in a relationship just to have a separate life?
Why not? I mean, just because we've never seen it before doesn't mean somebody isn't out there that's living their best life, right? That's why I'm saying, like, we have to reimagine what that's going to look like. What would that dynamic be? And, how are both of the people thriving in that relationship, although they're still, like, apart, kind of.
Do you know Abbott Elementary, right?
Yeah.
You know Barbara?
Yes.
So, what is her name in real life? I forgot. Put it in the chat for me. I saw an interview of her where, like, she's married to, like, somebody that works in government, I believe. But she lives in LA doing her own thing, being an actress, being, the best actress or whatever. And he lives on the East Coast doing his love in the government, all that. And I saw this interview where, like, it's like, I have my own thing here, he has his own thing there, we come together, we have fun, and then we go back our separate ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's out there. It's just not popular. Or it's not mainstream. Or it's not propagandized, because If
I could find the clip, I'll put it in the description, because I thought that was really interesting. But, so basically, this conspiracy of silence is not telling the truth about what men are really like. But the gag is, in 2025, 20 years later, after this book, we already know the truth about men. We already know the truth about men because of Reddit, because of TikTok, RIP.
I think TikTok's back. I'm not sure.
No, it's not the same. Okay, it's not. Because of YouTube, because of just forums and people using
the voice.
The voice online. And now we're able to kind of get a glimpse of what married people, suffer from, like, and, divorce and all of that. Now we know the truth, I would say. Nobody is silent about this anymore. But just to go further, this silence represents our collective cultural collusion with patriarchy. To be true to patriarchy, we are all taught that we must keep men's secrets. Real, the author, points out that the fundamental secret we share is that we will remain silent. Quote, when girls are inducted into womanhood, what is exactly that they have to say that must be silenced? What is the truth women... Wait, what? What is the truth women carry that cannot be spoken? The answer is simple and chilling. Girls, women, and also young boys all share in this common. None may speak the truth about men. Quote. So, even sometimes, like, I'll see clips too of, like, women will say that, before I got married, before I walked down the aisle, my mom told me, just do whatever he says. Whatever.
Wait, who?
Like, there's a woman would come on TikTok and would say that before they would get married, that was when their moms or their in-laws would tell them the truth about their man that they're going to marry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so those women or their silence represents the collective cultural collusion with the patriarchy.
Yeah.
So they were actually in
for the patriarchy.
Yeah.
They were furthering the agenda of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
You didn't finish the last sentence, right? It says the answer is simple and chilling. Girls, women, and also young boys all share this in common. None may speak the truth about men. End quote. One of the truth that cannot be spoken is the daily violence enacted by men of all classes and race in our society. The violence of emotional abuse.
Yeah.
I felt like that kind of like is much more important than where you stopped about.
Okay.
Right? So it's not just about not speaking the truth about men, but don't talk about the daily violence
of emotional abuse, because they're not emotionally available. They're not emotionally literate. They don't even know what they're feeling most of the time.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah, I just thought that was really, really important, because if you really talk about, because most men will say that they're not violent, and they mean physically violent.
Of course.
But most men are emotionally violent.
Yeah.
That's across all board. And that is the truth that not many
women
know.
Yeah.
Is the emotional violence of that. And I also want to talk about like weaponizing competence.
Ooh, that's violence.
That's violent.
Emotional. Wait, what did you say?
Weaponizing
competence is violence.
Yes. Let's talk about it, because what do you mean you don't know how to wash your drawers?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know how to do that?
As you can't cook and clean?
As a 34-year-old person, you don't know how to wash your dishes,
cook meals,
cook a meal, do laundry, but you can take out the trash
once a week.
You can, like, what?
But they're supposed to be the leaders of our society, though, right?
But you can't do basic shit. You can't.
But they, you know how like they get girlfriends and they get wives, they transfer the load to women.
Yeah.
Because it is women's duties to do that.
Yeah.
Right? That is what the patriarchy affords them. That once you have a woman, she is responsible for the daily house like task. So they don't have to do that anymore. So
and they don't really like compute that, because the women in your life do that. That's how you actually thrive. You come home, you have a nice food, your bed is made, you can go to sleep soundly. That's success right there. But there's no appreciation, because it's what we're supposed to be doing anyways.
Yeah. Supposed to be a servant to the men.
We're supposed to be a slave.
Yeah.
And that is like such an unpaid labor globally for young girls and women. Like, even if you take a patriarchal household where there's, a boy and a girl, because you're a girl, you have to take care of your brothers.
Extremely sexist.
So as a girl, I'm mommying my brothers. I can't just be a girl, but they can be a boy. They can go out, go to the park, play with their boys, play basketball. But once they come home, I have to give them food. Like, you're just mommy. Like, they teach their daughters to be a mom. Not.
Have you heard of the first girl, the first daughter syndrome?
Oh yeah, where like
that whole phenomenon of like the eldest daughter is basically the mom of the house.
Yeah,
when the mom is not actually there.
Yeah, we actually have a friend who's from Sudan, and she has 2 brothers, and she grew up feeling like her mom kind of like abandons her, because her mom would often fly back to Sudan, leaving her to be the mom of the house with her father in the household. So as soon as the mom leaves for like 3 months for the summer,
she's the mom.
She's the mom, and she fucking hated it. She hated it. Yeah.
But there's another passage where I really want to mention. So going back on Bell Hooks, she mentioned that she was in 2 long-term relationships, right? So I want to read a passage when it comes to male violence, and even in her own relationship with these men that she encounters. Okay. The 2 men I chose, this is page 58. The 2 men I chose as partners, like all the men I have loved, were victims of various degrees of emotional neglect and abandonment in their childhood. They did not love their fathers or truly know them intimately. Growing from young adulthood into manhood, they simply passively accepted the lack of communication with their fathers. They both felt that all attempts at reconciliation should come from the father to the son. And yet, as they matured into manhood, both those men began to behave not unlike the fathers whose action they had condemned and hated. Observing them through time, I found that both of them had been rebellious and anti-patriarchal in their 20s and early 30s, but they moved more into the work world. They began to assume more of the patriarchal manner that identifies one as a powerful and successful man. Though they had not been living with their fathers when it comes when it came time to be men, the earliest models of their lives were unconsciously reenacted. They could have protected themselves from this intimate repetition only by consciously working to be different, only by being disloyal to the dominator model. So you have these two men that did not have fathers in their life, and they don't want to be the first person to kind of reconcile. They want the fathers to reach out to them.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
About the son not reaching out first?
Yeah, and allowing the father to do that.
Well, the father left for a reason, right?
Yeah, so why would they reach out? So you so you're gonna have to reach out first.
You're gonna have to reach out first.
Yeah, but again, it's because they have pride that they don't want to reach out, or because they're hurt. So they haven't done the process of healing. Because if you really healed, why wouldn't you reach out?
Well, I could say the same thing. If you're truly healed, why would you reach out? Knowing that he left for a reason, or for whatever reason.
Yeah, but they want the relationship of their fathers, but they're not putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the father left for a reason, so he ain't gonna reach out. It's one thing to say, like, I reached out and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
No, yeah. So basically, I just wanted to point that out, that, you know, there is a lack of, there's like a void.
Yeah, in these men. Yeah.
That they want to reconnect with their fathers, they want to reconcile, but they just, don't have the means to do that. Right? Like you said, it could be pride, it could be like other factors, it could be like, being vulnerable and reaching out. Right?
Okay.
Being vulnerable and reaching out.
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
That maybe they don't want to tap into.
Exactly. Right? So, but then she says that they could have protected themselves from this intimate repetition only by consciously working to be different.
So, yeah, which is why I'm still on the fact that, like, I don't think this could be done by men. Because she said they were anti-patriarchal in their 20s and early 30s. But as they moved up in life and as they are in the workforce, they like the benefit that patriarchy affords them.
Yeah.
So now they have conformed into the patriarchal model, not only in their work life, but also in their intimate lives. So as soon as they benefit from any type of patriarchal model, they're done.
Because that's the default setting. The default setting is to be patriarchal. If you're consciously making the necessary work to not be patriarchal, that is not the default setting, right?
Yeah.
So
basically you just stop the work.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
So now your default setting, you're not a default setting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But there's another thing I wanted to say. So she mentioned Dr. What is it? How do you say this? Jules and Hyde or whatever. So
Jekyll?
I don't know.
Jekyll?
These two doctors, right? They're behavioral therapists or whatever like that. So it's basically, this is what she said. Much of Dr. Jill and Hugh behavior women describe in men who are alternatively caring than abusive has its roots in this fundamental alliance to patriarchal thinking. Yeah. Indoctrination into the mindset begin in childhood includes a psychological initiation that requires boys to accept that their willingness to do violence acts need much. Okay, so I'm so sorry. I'm like butchering right now. Okay, let me start over.
Yeah.
Indoctrination into the mindset begin in childhood includes a psychological initiation that requires boys to accept their willingness to do violent acts makes them patriarchal men. The distinction can and must be made between the willingness to do violence and actually doing it.
Yeah.
What?
Keep reading. Let me read it. When researchers looking at date rape interviewed a range of college men and found that many of them saw nothing wrong with forcing a woman sexually, they were astounded. Their findings seems to challenge the previously accepted notion that raping was aberrant male behavior. While it may be unlikely that any of these men in the study were or became rapists. First of all, what?
Do you know what that reminded me of?
No. Let me pause about that. So, Belle, you're saying, right? These researchers said that they find nothing wrong with forcing a woman sexually. But then you concluded that while it may be unlikely that any of the men in the studies were to become rapists, that is very likely that they will become rapists.
Yeah.
Because a psychologist is interviewing them and saying, hey, do you find anything wrong forcing a woman sexually to be intimate with?
The woman mom said yes. I mean, no.
They're like, no, I don't see anything wrong with forcing a woman to.
Because they wanted it anyway.
Isn't that a rape? What? Okay, but let me finish. While it may be unlikely that any of the men in the study were or to become rapists, it was evident that given what they conceived as the appropriate circumstances, they could see themselves being sexually violent.
Isn't sexual violence it's not rape, but it's included in that, right?
Yeah, it's coercion.
It's
all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Unconsciously, they engage in patriarchal thinking, which condones rape even though they may never enact on it. So, if you're thinking about raping a woman, if you're thinking about...
Or if you're okay with forcing yourself onto a woman...
You are part of the allegiance of the patriarchy. I don't see how you can force...
It's weird how she said it's unlikely. I would say it's likely. It's likely. If you think that way,
yeah,
it's likely.
So given the right circumstances, you would rape somebody. And this is actually true.
Yeah.
If they're drunk, rape. If they're, whatever the circumstances is, just given the right... It's kind of the same thing with the age. The age of consent, right?
Oh, of how...
The age of consent, I believe, is 16 to have sex with somebody. Yeah. In some states, 18 or whatever like that. If the age of consent is lower, they don't mind it.
Of course they don't.
They actually don't mind it. And that's
I think in Japan, the age of consent is
11 or 12.
I thought it was 14. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I think it was 14.
I'm who's having sex with these 13-year-olds? Men?
But the reason why I brought that up, remember Ann Burgess? Dr. Ann Burgess, the profilist?
Yes.
Remember how she was invited by the FBI to come and show men that the acts of violence that have been enacted. When she said that, the researchers were looking at date rape, for a range of college men, and found that many of them saw nothing wrong. Remember when she went into the FBI room?
Yeah.
And she sat down and she asked them, what would you consider rape? And then she's saying rape is forcing yourself onto women. They're like, that's not rape.
Yeah.
Remember how she has to teach these FBI men that acts of violence against women is literally rape.
It's literally forcing yourself.
Yeah. Onto women.
And not only that,
and they didn't believe her.
Too.
They didn't believe her. She has to come back and show pictures
of what that looks like.
And then that's when she's like, okay, maybe she's onto something.
And that's recent. That's recent. That's in the 80s or some shit like that.
Something like that.
The FBI. Cha.
It's getting ghetto out here in the streets.
I know. Please. Y'all stay safe out there now.
Oh my God. Okay. So she went on to talk about how specifically mothers are part of the problem.
Yeah,
right?
I really hate this.
I really do hate this.
I really do hate this because it's just and not because the world holds women accountable no matter what. Women hold other women accountable. I can't say that for men. And I don't want I don't want to add to that voice anymore because that voice is too strong. It's too much. I want to add to the voice that hold the men accountable.
By other men.
By other men or women. I'm a woman, I'm not a man. I'm still going to hold men accountable. Because the world is going to hold other women accountable no matter what.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world where women are socialized to behave a certain way. And if you deviate from that behavior,
then you're an othered or you're an outcast, you're a misfit. You're a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want that
Yeah.
anymore. Like, I don't
but yeah, this passage. So,
but I do hate this passage that we're gonna be talking about.
I know. So basically, Bell Hooks is basically saying that. Okay, I'm gonna read the quote. Clearly, patriarchal mothers who have rage at grown men act out with sons. Okay. They may either force the son to enter into an appropriate relationship in which he must provide for her the emotional connection grown men deny her, and engage in an emotional abuse in which the son is consistently belittled and shamed. I think you mentioned that too.
Yeah. Like, if you're not healed, don't have kids. It's not like, because you're still perpetuating the same shit. People talk about, a lot of Christians talk about, breaking generational curses and doing all that. How about breaking away patriarchy?
Ooh. Patriarchal thinking.
Patriarchy is that generational curse.
Ooh, yes. I didn't put the two and two together like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Christians, break away the patriarchal curse. In your family line.
In the church.
In the church line. The pastor, all them people. Break it.
Okay.
Like, usually like when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm trying to break your generational curses," it's like, well, like, that's nothing. You have a bigger and a much more monstrous curse. That is sexism. That is misogyny. That is misogynoir. That is patriarchy. That is religion.
Capitalism.
That is the curse. That is the curse of humanity. So think about that.
Yeah. Okay. These acts of patriarchal violence serve to enforce in the mind of children that their violence towards females is appropriate. It simply feels like justifiable vengeance. Ooh. Feminist adulation of motherhood makes it extremely difficult to call action to maternal sadism, to the violent women act with children, especially with boys. And yet, we know that whether it is a consequence of power dynamics in the dominator culture or simply a reflection of rage, women are shockingly violent towards children.
Yeah.
This fact should lead everyone to question any theory of gender differences that suggests that women are less violent than men. So she's saying that...
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
She's saying that women are not inherently less violent than men.
They're just violent in other ways.
Yes. And I agree with her on that.
Yeah.
I don't agree that men are inherently more violent. I think that it shows up in different ways.
Yeah.
And it shows up, in motherhood. It shows up, in like, these, like mother and daughter, mother and father, like, these different patriarchal relationships, whatever like that.
Well,
so, what?
I don't know. Why do I feel like women are less violent than men?
Like I said, it shows up differently.
Yeah, because if we're socialized to be caretakers, to nurture, to be loving, why wouldn't we be less violent?
But we're also socialized to participate in patriarchy, and patriarchy is inherently violent, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we can be nurturing, we can be, we can do both. But when it comes to upheld the patriarchal standard, women are violent in different ways. It just shows up differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Bro, what are you doing?
It's like, maybe it's just too much. Okay.
You're going to edit that.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No. I ain't editing shit.
You're going to edit that.
No.
Okay.
No. Anyways.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
So, okay, she went on and, basically quoting, like, psychologists, other authors. And she basically mentioned this author named Scott Peck.
Wait. I want to read this passage first about.
Okay.
So basically, she draws in how she was raised in a patriarchal household as a young girl and with her brothers and stuff like that. She said, in our household growing up, it was clear that our mother believed wholeheartedly that it was the role of the man to be the disciplinarian, to be in charge. When our dad used excessive violence, she merely saw it as his right. Lots of women who believe that it is the right of men to dominate feels that they should not resist male violence towards themselves or their children. Not surprisingly, these women, my mother included, use all manner of violence to discipline children. Fearful of being the object of a grown man's rage, they may desire their children to be perfectly behaved so as not to arouse dad's ire. So now we see a two-parent household where the man of the house is using violence to terrorize the family.
Yeah.
And the mom is the accomplice. She's complicit in this.
Yeah, she's Robin.
And she believes it is the man's right to be the disciplinarian.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
First of all, why is it that disciplining a child means violence? Why is that a thing? You can discipline kids, you can discipline children, but you don't have to
enforce violence.
Emotional or physical. Those two are not synonymous.
You know what I think the best way to discipline like kids is to let them face their own consequences.
No.
Really?
No. Yes, in a way that keeps them safe.
I mean, yeah, obviously. Like, I'm not saying like go out and like fucking die or something like that. I'm not saying that. Like let them fall, and when they're trying to get back up, explain what to do better next time. I think that's the best way. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. It's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. And I know some kids, depending on the culture that you're a part of, it might be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think universally, right, I think universally, we will all agree that, okay, when a kid does something bad, or when a kid does something wrong, you should tell them, like, hey, this is what happened, this is what you did, this is what you can do to get better. And if you keep falling again, just reinforce that notion.
You have to
until they get it.
Yeah.
Until they get it. Because if you hit them with violence, they're going to associate, them doing something wrong as bad, or as something like for you to be, I don't know. It's
something
like
to be punished.
Yeah, something to be punished or whatever like that. And they're probably going to start to resent you.
Yeah.
No,
that's literally how boyhood socialization to enact violence on their moms and their sisters starts.
Yeah.
It's, again, like, I think really nurturing kids' emotions and getting them to a point where they're like emotionally literate about how they're feeling, because most of the time when young boys are rageful, there's something under that rage. It's not just because they're angry. They're not angry for no reason.
I think it's because of something misunderstood.
Yeah. So I think also, I think too, like adults too misunderstand their own emotion.
Yeah.
So if it's hard for an adult to know what the emotion they're feeling, imagine a young boy that's growing up, going through puberty, their body's changing, they're acting out.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
that's difficult.
Yeah.
And as someone who worked in early childhood education, I've said this to you. I don't think I've said this publicly. I will say this. I feel like you need an associate's degree in early childhood education before you have kids.
Child.
Because you're just winging it is causing a lot more problem.
There needs to
you
be
need an associate's degree. Yes, you need an associate's degree. I'm not even talking about bachelor. You don't need to be like a master at this. You need an associate's degree in early childhood education. The science behind it, the practicality behind it, the nurturance behind it. of how to raise a child. And it starts from day one. It starts from the womb. If you are terrorizing the mother, a pregnant woman, the baby feels it.
Yeah.
It starts from the womb.
Yeah.
So even in a room, you're already fucked. You don't even have a chance.
Yeah.
But that's my TED talk about, you know. But yeah, like you don't need to discipline your kids by being a violent person.
Yeah.
I don't like, that's just not.
Yeah.
And the mother being an accomplice of that.
That's really sad.
Yeah, like you are putting your allegiance towards this ideology while at the same time neglecting your kids.
And it doesn't work.
And exposing them to violence like that. That's so sad. That's so sad.
Yeah, and it really doesn't work too. Like
it never works.
It never works. But yeah, so I want to talk about this passage. Okay. Ever since I started writing about love, I have defined it in a way that blends M. Scott Peck's notion of love as the will to nurture one's own and another's spiritual and emotional growth, with Eric Fromm insight that love is action and not solely feeling. Okay, that's fine.
That's good.
Yeah. Women, no. Working with men who wanted to know love, I have advised them to think of it as a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust.
Okay, so
she forgot one thing.
What?
Understanding.
Ooh. I would put empathy in there too.
Ooh. Empathy.
Yes.
Come on.
Understanding and empathy.
Understanding.
So she said care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, and you put understanding and empathy. I think that fully completes love as a not only a concept but as a practical thing, as a practical skill that you can accrue and learn.
Yeah, I think,
and with that you can nurture one's own and another's spiritual and emotional growth.
Yeah. So I thought that was very, very powerful of how, like, because I think most of the time when people ask people, like, what is love? Like, how do you define love? How do you imagine love? How do you, find love or whatever like that, right? And everybody has like their own definition of what love is.
Yeah.
But I think this is by far the most, I would say, like, accurate description that is also practical and that is also like spiritual. It encompasses attributes that are deemed very, very useful. It's not tangible, right?
It's tangible.
I mean, it's tangible in the sense of like trust is not a tangible thing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like things that are non-tangible, but that are so critical.
I would say knowledge is a tangible thing.
I mean, yeah. Commitment is not tangible.
Respect is not tangible.
Care is tangible.
No, care is tangible.
Commitment is not tangible.
Empathy is not tangible.
Respect is not tangible.
No, respect is tangible. Well,
respect is not tangible.
Empathy
empathy is not tangible.
Yeah, empathy is not tangible.
And understanding is not tangible.
So the things that are like not
non-tangible or more important.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I would agree with her on the combination of, getting to know love or acquiring those qualities. And these qualities, men don't have them.
No, men don't. I'm sorry.
Because it completely contradicts the patriarchy.
Yeah. And if you're in allegiance with the patriarchy, you don't have care. You don't have commitment to even yourself. You don't have knowledge. You don't have responsibility. You don't respect yourself. You don't respect women. You don't trust yourself. And you lack understanding. And you definitely don't have empathy.
But then you're supposed to be the leader?
At least even half of this, women are socialized to be. Women are socialized to care.
To commit.
To commit. To be respectful. Right?
They have responsibility.
And to know how to be a woman, to know how to be feminine, to know how to caretake somebody, to know how to trust. Like, women, come on now. women are more likely
Women
to love.
have half of this. Women have half of this.
Women have understanding and empathy.
The jig is up.
The men have a lot of work to do.
The jig is up. The jig is up.
But I will say it is because of socialization. Like, it's not all of these things are not inerrant.
Yeah, it can be taught.
It can literally be taught.
Yeah.
But they just don't want to do the work because it's hard.
And they were not socialized to do so.
It's
right?
so hard.
Yeah.
To do the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an adult, it really is hard. But you must do the work.
I believe if you truly want to experience, like, not just love from the opposite sex, just love for yourself, I think that it is very, very important for these qualities to be understood and learned and practiced throughout, like, your life every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really, really important. So, yeah. Okay. So on the next passage, she basically went on to talk about, like, the, emotionally self-mutilated and disconnected men that are, like, that are, like, emotionally disconnected later on in life. Okay. So she said, they simply do not get that love and abuse cannot go together. Oh, wait, let me start over. Emotionally self-mutilated, disconnected, many men make overtures of emotional connection only to later undermine those with emotional abuse.
Mm.
They simply do not get that love and abuse cannot go together.
Mm-hmm.
And why should they get it? When television shows, movies, and so much else in popular culture gives the message that any time there is intense passion between a couple, violence can erupt.
Oof.
Teaching men to understand that women and children do not feel loved when they are being abused is one of the primary goals of groups that works to end male violence.
Yes. That's true. Like, I think we do live in a culture that perpetuates patriarchy without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And it starts from, like, the Incredible Hulk, the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, just having that good versus evil, where you have a group of good people, right, that are using their powers to get rid of the evil one. But if you really look at it from a patriarchal standpoint, the good that you have, it's not really that good. It's also evil because there is no love.
Okay.
There's no love. And even the good side of things, there's no love. There's just pride because I have power and I have the perception that I'm good.
Perception of power, yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm going to use my goodness to fight off the evil. And if we look at this in a military standpoint, right, where American oftentimes think of itself as the good guy, right? And people that live in America, that know America for what it is, we have a different take on what the good guy is. So the good guy goes overseas and fights off the evil guy. The people overseas think that, well, we're the good guys. You guys are the evil one because you guys are coming, taking our resources, like you always do. White supremacist, patriarchal, imperialistic, what she said before. What she said before. So you're only good as what your perception allows you to know that you're good. You're only good by the extent that you put yourself to, that reveals the goodness that you have.
Mm.
Because I can say the highest form of good is love. It is care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, understanding, and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
So if America has empathy and they think they're the good guy, but they're using the power to colonize, destroy, still kill, destroy other nations overseas, are they really good? Are they really good? How can you be good when there's no love? You have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because if you did have love, if you did have care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, empathy, and understanding, there would be no violence. You would be the most pacifistic son of a bitch ever. Like, and low key, I will have to say that, like, I don't even know if it's like my opinion, but I'm going to say that it is within my opinion that I feel like Jesus Christ is the only representation of good
and just.
Because Jesus Christ had care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, empathy, and understanding. But hey, I'm not trying to like promote religion, because I don't like religion. I don't believe in religion. But when I look at, I guess, a person in history that did, I guess, exemplify like even a fraction of what Bell Hooks is talking about, I can only think of one man.
That's a male too.
I can only think of one male that actually fucking did it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Speaking of good men, K. Lee Hummin autobiography essay, "A Good Man is Hard to Bash," right? Begins with the story of her dating a man who she felt was abusive and was potentially capable of physical violence. She calls her best male friends for advice about how much abuse she had to endure, saying, quote, if I'm serious about him and if I want the relationship to last, there will be ups and downs. I don't think I should run away when it gets hard. I should be willing to tolerate little abuse if I really love him," end quote. The best friend looked at her dead in the ass. That's not part of the reading, but directly in the eyes. And told her, "Okay, in loving relationship, abuse is unacceptable." That's a man told her that. "You should not have to tolerate any abuse to be loved." I said, my good sis is in a struggle love situation.
No, but like,
think about that.
Yeah.
If I truly love him, I should be able to tolerate abuse.
A lot of women think
that is ingrained. That is fucking wild.
A lot of women think
that is fucking wild.
And it ends up costing their life. Sadly.
You know what's funny? Should I say this?
Say it.
Remember when we're talking to our sister?
Which one?
The middle sister. And so we were on a topic of relationship, right? It always comes up because, yeah. And then she was asking me, like, okay, so like, what if you guys are like married, have kids, and he did something that you didn't like the first time, like the first time he like put your hands on you.
She said that?
Something like that. I don't know. Like, put your hands on you. Are you going to like leave? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me.
And she was like, what?
She's like, what? so like you're going to leave because he put your hands on you like one time? And I'm sorry.
It's not funny.
And I was like, yeah. She was dead ass confused. She's like, wait, so you're willing to just give up everything you've built because he put your hands on you one time? And I'm like, that is one time too many. That is one time too many.
Yeah.
She was computing, but it was just like,
I think also too, like, it's hard to do because, there's kids involved, there's feelings, and I feel like because we've never been in a relationship, we don't know. And she always likes to like bring that up, like, oh well, you've never been there, so you don't know. But I'm like, damn, I would hope that even if I was in a relationship, I would love myself more than the relationship itself to leave, even if there's like a hint of abuse.
Right.
Because I know that I'm doing the work to love myself, to give love to myself, so that when I see something,
like that,
when I see someone or a situation that is deviated from that, then I can have the power and the resources to leave.
Yeah, and I think that's where like this K person in this book lacks is, I feel like women just have to love themselves enough
and know what that looks like.
Yeah,
and know that like they're actually the prize, because without them, all this shit goes down. Aside
from that, like I just think that like again, women are just socialized to need a man,
because a male's love is scarce.
It's scarce. right?
And we want more of it because we can't have
exactly, especially the good man that everybody's looking for, right?
Right. The unicorn.
Yeah, the unicorn. Everybody wants the unicorn, right?
Which is because there's no such thing as a unicorn. I don't even get that saying. Right? There's no such thing as a unicorn.
As a good man?
No. The unicorn person.
That everybody's looking for?
Yeah. If you look at a unicorn, there's no such thing as a unicorn. A unicorn is a fantasy.
Ooh, yeah.
So you're looking for something that's not going to happen.
Most likely, yeah.
No, not most likely. It's not. Have you seen a unicorn before?
Oh, are we talking about
an actual unicorn? Yes.
Oh, I thought we were like using it as a metaphor to.
Well, yeah, I'm double speaking. I'm saying, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've never seen a unicorn, obviously, because it's not real.
Unicorn don't exist.
Yes.
So therefore, the unicorn man doesn't exist.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm
gonna hold your hand when I say this. See, yeah, yeah.
No, but like I think that about this women saying that if what she say, I should be able to tolerate little abuse if I really love him.
No, men really do think that the longer women stay in a relationship
that is very abusive, that's how men compensate, or that's how men measure the love.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think it's the complete opposite. If anything, it's just low self-esteem. It means that you don't love yourself enough to realize that you're in this position that you are, right? Because I feel like when I'm thinking about a perfect scenario, perfect love, like there will be no abuse. There will be no manipulation. There will just be pure honesty, love,
care,
commitment,
knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, understanding, and empathy.
Right. And I think that even if going back to the scenario of my sister, right? Even if I am ever, God forbid, even if I'm ever in a situation where I am abused, having courage to leave, like that is so important.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna add that one, courage in there.
Courage.
Too. Mm-hmm.
So care. So love. Okay. So love is a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, empathy, understanding, and courage.
Yeah.
I feel like we should add one more to make it 10. Ooh. Tenfold. Let's think.
Damn, what is really important?
Emotional literacy.
Let me see. Compassion is the one.
Yeah.
Compassion is the one.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Okay,
compassion.
So let's wrap it up.
So combination of love.
Yeah.
To show,
to nurture, to nurture one's own and another spiritual and emotional growth. Love is a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, trust, empathy, understanding, compassion,
and courage. Yeah. Yep. That was beautiful.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
All right, we are an hour in. Do you want to keep going?
Yes, I want to wrap it up.
We're gonna have to wrap it up.
This is it. We still have a lot to say. Okay, so next part, she basically went and talked about understanding forgiveness, and basically introduced this behavioral therapist, and basically was dissecting the family dynamic when it comes to the emotional and the physical abuse and violence that is being enacted, right? Okay. When the seemingly mild-mannered professor I lived with moved from emotional abuse to physical abuse, to physical violence, I felt I should be understanding, forgiving. Like me, he had been raised in a dysfunctional family. However, even when he went to therapy, and even though his physical violence stopped, he never really believed that he had done anything wrong. He harbored the notion that, as many men who act violently do, that I was responsible for his bad behavior.
Mm.
In Donald Dutton's work with men who are violent, he identified women seen behind the male mask as a catalyst of male violence. And this is what he said. He may apologize and feel shame immediately after, but he can't sustain that emotion. It's too painful, too reminiscent of hurt long buried. Buried. So he blames it on her. If it happens repeatedly with more than one woman, he goes from blaming her to blaming them. His personal shortcomings becomes rationalized by an evolving misogyny. At this point, the abusiveness is hardwired into the system. The man is programmed for intimate violence. So basically, Bell Hooks is talking about how men never take accountability for their own violence, right? They never look inward, but look outward and point the fingers at women in their lives.
They point their fingers at their mom, their aunties, their girlfriend.
And this is a man who has been doing the work by going to therapy. Oh, mind you.
You see how they use therapy and manipulate it? Bruh.
Am I right or am I right? Right? So it's like, and now she feels like she is actually responsible for this man acting violently towards her. And that's why I feel like women should have the courage to...
That's part of love. Yeah.
Courage to know that, hey, this is the work that you need to do on your own. This ain't got nothing to do with me. Take it up with God in them. You see what I'm saying? Like, take it up with God in them. I am removing myself because this is more than I can handle. It's not because I don't love you, but this is a path that you have to take on your own. This is a lone man's work.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't involve myself in say that, oh, I need to bear the responsibility of you acting violently towards me. That makes absolutely no sense to me. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I feel like courage is really, really important. Courage to know that, you know, although I've been you for like 10, 20, 30, 40 years, this is not serving me anymore.
Yeah.
This is not serving me anymore. So
yeah, and a lot of women are having the courage to walk out.
Great.
To say that, hey, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're like 10, 20 years deep, but I'm going to start over by myself because I can. And I want to. Yeah, and that shows a lot of strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so she goes on and basically lists movies that perpetuate patriarchal violence.
Ooh.
Movies about war. I mean, I already know that movies about wars are already portraying a type of propagandized patriarchal violence, whatever. And she said, when large numbers of young men in this nation rebel against patriarchy to oppose the war in Vietnam, many of them were concerned with justice. Many of them did not want to kill. But a great deal... Okay. I want to ask a question, but a great deal simply do not want to die. To oppose war and the imperialism that promotes war place these young men at odds with imperialist, white supremacist, capitalistic patriarchy. They suffered by choosing to take a stand. They were ridiculed by other men, more often than not represented as traitors. In the past 10 years, mass media have produced numbers of movies aimed at boys that glorifies wars. Saving Private Ryan, Independence Day, Men in Black, Black Hawk Down, Pearl Harbor, just to name a few. That once again it makes it appear heroic to die alone, away from home,
fighting for a cause you may or may not understand.
Yeah. These movies are a part of patriarchal anti-feminist backlash. They glorify the patriarchal masculinity that enlightened women and men critique. They serve as propaganda, recruiting the hearts and imagination of boys. Like gangster rap, they celebrate male violence of all fronts, including the domination of women.
Yeah.
I'm a pacifist, if y'all didn't already know that.
What's that?
Someone that doesn't believe in war.
Oh.
Like, literally, get along. It's 2025. Like, why do we have war? For what? Because of a disagreement. Because of land.
Ego.
Because of ego. Because of resources. Because of revenge. Like, war in the 21st century, I believe, should not exist. I just... If we have resources that another country needs it, literally make a treaty, make a deal. Okay, you give me one resource, you take one resource.
Do you think it's just going to stop there? Because people want more, especially men. They want to hoard everything.
That's why war starts. That's how war starts.
Yeah.
Because people are greedy.
Yeah.
Because people want more and more and more and more. They can say, okay, we have enough. Let's share. Whatever happened to sharing? Whatever happened to sharing is caring.
Men don't want to share nothing. These world leaders are just like men in power, right? Let a woman be in power. Let all women come together and congregate. I say this is what we finna do. We're gonna do this, that. Like, it would be a completely different world if women rule the world.
Yeah, because matrilineal and matrilineal societies are very
we
much
actually share.
We are in a community together. We are the resources, and we are willing to share. But in a patrilineal, patrilocal patriarchy model, you have a form of hierarchy where a nation has to be at the top and all these niggas at the fucking bottom. And it's like, for what? Okay, so you're at the top, but you have bodies of young boys who have allegiance themselves to this faux reality of patriarchy that they think because they align with you, they can also be at the top, only to leave them dead, alone, and just for what?
Destitute.
For what? Like, I don't. Anyways, I'm not gonna go in further. But yeah, she's basically talking about how these movies are part of an anti-feminist patriarchal propaganda to recruit young boys.
Yeah.
To basically glorify war and serve.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Do you think young people should serve in the military of any form?
Young men?
Do you think anyone should be serving in the military? If we are to dismantle the patriarchy?
No. If the goal is to dismantle the patriarchy, then the military has to go. The concept of having a military has to go, right? Well, I guess the concept of the military to fight in wars has to go. I'm not sure about. Well, but then again, what is the function of a military if there's no wars? You know? I think that's actually pretty hard to decide, because at one point you want to keep your country safe, right?
Right, from
invaders. Okay, cool, because there's a lot of bandits out there, right?
Yeah.
But I think as having like a like being drafted or like at 18, I don't know.
Do you think Bell Hooks was anti-military? I think she's anti-war from just this passage alone, because she says it's a form of propaganda to get recruitment.
Yeah. For
the government. But I don't know if she's anti-military from this passage.
I don't know.
But I think like the question rests of like, if we are to dismantle the patriarchy in a governmental standpoint, should we still have the military? Is a military a viable thing in a world where there's no patriarchy?
Ooh.
Answer whatever you feel about that question. Answer it down below. We want to know your thoughts, your comments. So answer that below.
Yeah. So I want to go ahead and actually dive a little deeper about conservative mass media. Okay. So Bell Hooks says that conservative mass media offers daily lessons in patriarchal
pedagogy.
They tell boys what they must do to be men. In these homes where enlightened fathers daily work to repudiate how's that? Repudiate violence. Television reaffirm its importance, making courting death glamorous and sexy. Poor and working class males, children, and grown men often embody the worst strains of patriarchal masculinity, acting out violence because it is the easiest, cheapest way to declare one's manhood. If you cannot prove that you are much of a man by becoming president or becoming rich or becoming a public leader or becoming a boss, then violence is your ticket into the patriarchal manhood contest. That your ability to do violence levels the playing field. On that field, the field of violence, many men
can win.
Yeah, many men can win. And we know that with a lot of like the incel community that are like extremely violent towards women, because they are the lowest between the hierarchy amongst the males.
They have to enact violence.
They have to
climb up to the top.
Yeah.
That's the way to go for being an incel, to being a man. Not only that, is sleeping with a woman.
Yeah.
Multiple women.
Yeah. So she said that if you can't become a president, rich, being public leader, becoming a boss, then violence is your ticket to becoming a man, according to the patriarchy.
Yeah. And you can do all of those things at the same time and still enact violence too.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I think that's it for me.
I think there was one part I really wanted to read. Damn, where is it? Shoot. Okay. So I want to read this next passage. Men who win on patriarchal terms end up losing in the terms of their subsequent quality of life, right? Because that means you're trading, patriarchal ideologies with your quality of life, right?
Yeah.
They choose patriarchal manhood over loving connection, first foregoing self-love, and then the love they can give and receive that would connect them to others. Feminist researchers have long since exposed the widespread domestic violence in our society. Yet, since that exposure, violence against women had not declined, and in some cases, it had intensified. Anti-feminist pregnant seeks to blame the intensification of male violence on women's greater equality. Yet, most studies of family life includes that in that sphere, gender relations did not undergo any major revolution. Sociologist Ari Hochschild has provided important data showing that domestic gender dynamic between men and women remains fairly sexist, right? Women work outside the home but continue to do the lion's share of work in the house. Often, men who were covert narcissists become feminists. Movement felt more entitled to unleash their rage overtly as movement gained momentum, but the rage was already present.
Yeah. So this is kind of like her way of critiquing feminism of like, yeah, we got the chance to vote. We got the chance to work outside the home, but you're still working inside the home and your man is still fucking angry. So,
yeah.
So as far as the equality of, yeah, there is equality. I'm not going to like downplay feminism. Like, absolutely fucking not. But I think Bell Hooks is much more idealistic in that we should open up the space for men to tap into their emotional side in the space of feminism.
I think women have been doing that though, but it's up to the men to participate in that, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, there's not a wave of like men trying to understand what feminism actually is and how women have revolutionized, right? How women have revolutionized, the workplace and get them access to like bank accounts and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's up to the men to want to understand, right? Because they don't want to understanding.
And
so it's
empathy.
like, come on, they don't want to, right? Because it's a lot of work to do.
It's a lot.
But I'm just going to close it with this last passage. Ultimately, the men who choose against violence, against death, do so because they want to live fully and well, because they want to know love. Those are men who are true heroes, the men whose lives we need to know about, honor, and remember. And that was the close of this chapter.
Yeah. Ooh, long chapter.
Yeah, this is a pretty great chapter. Okay. What did Bell Hooks mentioned? Okay, what did Bell Hooks did not mention about stopping no violence that you think is actually really, really important?
I still felt like she didn't really hold the male accountable.
In one sense?
In the sense that she talked about boyhood and how moms and women. So she held the women accountable by saying that, women neglect the emotional nurturance of boys by adding on the plate of the boy to provide them emotional support.
Yeah.
And she said that that's like sadism a little bit. So therefore the boy grows up and
resenting the
mom and want to smash their mommies and all that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't feel like she held the men accountable. Yeah, she talked about her dad and how he basically displayed huge anger of violent terrorism in their house, and the mom was, in allegiance of that. But I still felt like she lacked the accountability of the male part to do the work. And I don't know, like, oftentimes when I read her books, I just feel like she's too much of an idealist.
And it's not rooted in reality, almost.
No, it is rooted in reality. This is all reality.
Like in a sense, like, it's not practical.
They're not going to do it. Like, I don't know. Because once you're socialized to think and be a certain way, and you benefit from that, it is so hard to change. Which is why women are more prone to change, because we are socialized to be the recipient.
And it didn't work.
Of patriarchy, and we fucking hate it.
And it didn't work, so we were changing. That's why feminism came into place.
Yeah.
Because we women are, like, especially black women, they're like at the lowest level of the hierarchy when it comes to
feminism, really.
Yeah, feminism, right?
And patriarchy too.
Right.
So black women are like, yeah, no, we
not
have to fight. We have to
fight.
fight. We have to organize.
Yeah.
You have to show up.
Yeah, even some white women benefit from the patriarchy.
From the fight.
Yeah. Right? But like you said, because they benefit from it, they're not going to change.
So there needs to be a mass movement where men don't benefit from patriarchy anymore.
And what does that look like?
For them, that's where they will have the will to change.
Ooh.
But I don't think she talked about that.
I don't think she made that connection. I don't think she made that connection.
She kind of does by saying, like, patriarchy does not benefit boys and men. But then she talks about how in her two relationships, they started off being anti-patriarchal. But later down the line, they are reaping the benefit of patriarchy. So now they change their allegiance from feminism to patriarchy. Mm-hmm. Because they know that feminism doesn't it's not getting them any benefits. Any benefits.
Yeah.
So they just want what benefits them. That's it.
Yeah. And so until the patriarchy does not benefit them anymore,
they're not going to do it.
But then what does that look like? What does that look like? Men not benefiting from patriarchy. I'm trying to reimagine that world. Because I want to imagine it like, okay, this is actually tangible. Like, this actually can be done.
I honestly can't even imagine it. I'm sorry.
Really? Mm-hmm. I need to know.
It's hard for me to imagine. Because I can sit here and say, okay, there needs to be a matriarchy. But it's like, women don't dominate. There has never been, and we're going to be reading The Christian Patriarchy by Greta Lerner.
Yeah.
According to her in her books, there has never been a society in which women dominate men, women, and children. What we've seen are... Why is the light going in and out? What we've seen are matrilineal and matrilineal communities where the group of women are in charge of the community. But as far as dominating, women don't dominate because it is not socialized for them to dominate.
And I don't think they want to.
Yeah, I don't think.
Like, I think women just want to live in peace in their community and just have fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, drink mimosas or whatever. But yeah.
What about you? What do you think she failed to recognize, to add in this chapter?
What did she fail to recognize in this chapter about stopping male violence? Damn, I really have to think. I don't know. Okay. I think she didn't mention how to redirect the violence, right? Or how to properly place why men are violent towards women.
No, she did talk about it.
In a sense that, like, what am I trying to say?
Why is it? It's like blanking.
I don't know. Okay. I feel like it's there, but it's just not. It's not coming to me. It's not coming to me. But yeah.
All right, that's the end of chapter 4, Stopping No Violence, by Bell Hooks, The Will to Change.
Yep.
Please grab the book, like, read it with us, and definitely share what you think about Bell Hooks as an author, as a feminist, her work, what other books you've read by her, and all that.
Yeah, and let us know, like, what you think about the blueprint of, you know, The Will to Change, and how that is reimagined in the lens of a man. I really want to know what would that look like, The Will to Change. But yeah, let us know. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.